Hello guys and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be going over some of the new changes that are going to be coming in with the 20th anniversary of World of Warcraft. Some of you may have seen the patch notes on like Wowhead and stuff like that. There is an awful lot of changes coming into Shaman. Some of them like talent changes, some just talent adjustments and just some new features and stuff. So get your coffee, have a little sit down, we'll have a little chat about all of them now and see if we can figure out what a lot of them are going to mean for us. Because again, there is some pretty hefty changes. So we'll start here. This is just some baseline Shaman changes, not just enhancement. But Sky Fury now costs 1% base mana, was 4%. That's fine. Like most of the time, these sort of mana changes and stuff aren't really relevant for Enhanced because we don't really need to worry about a mana like ever, unless you're spamming healing surges because your friends are dying. All Shaman Ascendance models have been updated. Fire for Elemental, Lightning for Enhancement, and Water for Restoration. I'm going to be honest, I didn't even realize that Ascendance model was not already working like that. I thought that was already how it was. Shamans can now float on water while in their Ascendant form. Soon. Mana Spring no longer has an aura displaying who is benefiting from it. Again, not a massive change, doesn't really matter too much for us. Updated spell visuals for Lava Burst and Primordial Waves icon has been updated. Not much to go over there, just a couple of little like graphical changes more than anything, to be honest with you. As for Farseer, here, this is all just for Elemental Shaman or Resto Shaman. I'll quickly go over it in case any of you guys here at Ellie or Resto want to know. Elemental Blast from Ancestors now prioritize your most recently attacked target when possible. For any of you guys that don't know, Ancestors are pretty much how the main tree works. You do all kinds of things to get like little ghosts of yourself that come out and basically duplicate your moves. Ancestors now prefer to Chain Lightning your target when you cast Chain Lightning or the targeted version of Earthquake. So it's just basically making sure it replicates multiple of the same move rather than just doing random moves, I assume. Ancestors are now summoned equipped with a historic Shaman set, so they also look pretty snazzy. Now, onto the stuff that Enhance needs to know. So Stormbringer, as a lot of you have probably realized, Stormbringer is the main talent build that we're really playing now, the hero talent tree. Totemic doesn't really sit as well in current content, but we'll go over some of these changes and see it. It may be playable now, we'll see. But this is Stormbringer. This is the one that activates like Tempest and all that sort of thing. So as a new talent, Lightning Conduit. You have a chance to get struck by lightning, increasing your movement speed by 50% for 5 seconds. The effectiveness is increased to 100% in outdoor areas. You call down a thunderstorm when you reincarnate. Now this is lovely for me because I reincarnate a lot. So nothing crazy there really. It's just mainly a movement speed buff for 5 seconds. 50% is quite a hefty amount though, so I guess it could be noticed. New talent, Electroshock. Tempest increases your movement speed by 20% for 5 seconds. So again, another movement speed increase there. Nothing too major, but again, movement speed is always nice. Storm Swell has been redesigned. So Tempest grants 10% mastery for 6 seconds, and it is now a choice node against Supercharge. Honestly, 10% mastery for 6 seconds is quite hefty. If you line up your stacks correctly, you can get quite a few Tempests in. I think you could probably, in AoE situations, keep this buff up. I'm not sure if it's going to stack. It doesn't really read like it does. Maybe it stacks. Maybe if you like get 2 Tempests in that 6 window, you may get 20%. I'm not sure if the second Tempest will just refresh to 6 seconds. Maybe it goes to 8 seconds, or maybe it stays on 2 seconds and gives you 20% mastery. Not too sure. I guess we'll have to see with that one. But regardless, 10% mastery for 6 seconds is very nice, especially in AoE, and especially if we're staying in this sort of build we're playing now, where we're focusing on either like Fire Nova and Hailstorm, Lava Lash, you know, all that sort of stuff is affected by your mastery. So that is pretty nice. Decent change. Nature's Protection has been redesigned. Lightning Shield reduces the damage you take by 3%. Now this is really nice because prior to this, Lightning Shield is kind of dead for us. Like it's only really relevant if you're getting attacked by something, and normally in a dungeon situation or a raid situation, if you're getting punched in the face by something, you're probably going to die anyway. So the previous effect wasn't really working. It would make more sense for something like a Shaman tank. So now it actually has some sort of utility. So it just pretty much gives you a base flatline 3% damage reduction because you normally have Lightning Shield up. It's an hour buff, right? So you normally just have it up for the sake of having it up. Really nice change there, to be fair. You have a bit more survivability. Surging Currents has been redesigned. When you cast Tempest, you gain Surging Currents, increasing the effectiveness of your next chain heal or healing surge by 20% up to 100%. Are we even in Surging Currents? I believe we are. Let me just quickly open my game up. Somewhere down here, right? Surging Currents. Oh wait, it's when you cast Tempest. It's probably on the hero talent tree. So we're currently not using it. This one is just way more valuable in key situations. The 10% damage reduction for 6 seconds is huge. I don't think you're really going to want to come out of that for like any buff on healing, unless you want to go into more of like a support class, I guess. But again, if you're doing like high content or push keys, it's very likely you won't come out of Nature's Protection. It's just far superior compared to like some additional off healing. But yeah, it's a nice change. If for some reason you do decide to go into that talent, it is a nice change. You can like chain heal or healing surge effectively for like double the amount for 100%. That's pretty nice. Conductive Energy spell icon updated to the same as Lightning Rod. Not a big deal. Unlimited Power tooltip updated to have it to be consistent with other talents with similar functionality. Okay, again, Again, it's just a tooltip. That's nothing too crazy. Shocking Grasp has been removed. Not massive deal there, to be fair with you either. Right, so enhancement changes specifically here. Awakening Storms, damage reduced by 35%. The bottom of the hero talent tree right now, you have when you Storm Strike, Lightning Bolt, or Chain Lightning, you have a chance to get a stack, and when you get 3 stacks, that's what gives you a free Tempest. Also, obviously spending 40 Maelstrom, but that is the other way to get a free Tempest, getting 3 of those stacks. Alongside that one buff towards the free, Awakening Storms does around, I think with my current stats, it's like 70k damage, like it shoots at the target when you activate Awakening Storms. So that's just reducing the damage by 35%. Looks scarier until you read the one after this. So there was obviously an issue before where Awakening Storms wasn't being affected by a mastery. So now that is being affected by a mastery, obviously it's going to buff the damage from the mastery. So I think that'll probably even out a little bit. Maybe a slight nerf, maybe a slight buff. I'm not too sure off the top of my head. Right, this is all elemental stuff, so we're not going to read over this because there is a huge amount. Sorry if you play Ellie. I don't even know what I'm looking at for half of this stuff, to be fair with you, since the talent tree came in, and I do not want to read over like a billion things. I just would rather get to the enhancement stuff. Right, so first of all, we have a new talent, Blowing Spirits. Your damaging abilities have a chance to summon a Feral Spirit for 8 seconds. Replaces Feral Spirit completely, which is interesting. Functions with elemental spirits and Alpha Wolf, which is obviously the bottom node. Choice node with Witch Doctor's Ancestry. It's going to be a choice node here. So instead of having the ability now to, when you gain Maelstrom, you'll just go and get CDR on Wolves, it's going to be the ability to turn your Wolves cooldown pretty much into a passive, is what it seems. Did it say it replaced Feral Spirits? Did I read that right? Yes, okay, so it replaces Feral Spirit, which is interesting, because if it is a choice node with Witch Doctors, it seems almost like it would make Feral Spirit obsolete. Maybe they're going to shuffle the tree around, I'm not too sure, but either way, it's now going to be a choice node here apparently. And what it's fundamentally going to do basically is make our Wolves cooldown a passive. So there's just an on-chance effect to activate Wolves when you're attacking, and you'll get 8 seconds of Wolves. And again, it works with Elemental Spirits, Alpha Wolf, which is the bottom node, which means obviously it can be like Fire, Frost, or Nature Wolves, and they can also be Alpha Wolves, which mean that when you crash Lightning and all that sort of stuff, they have a chance to bite. I'm not sure how much I like this. It might have places where it's good. It might have places where it's not so good. It all kind of really depends on how frequently your abilities are going to proc this. Because if it procs every 5 or 10 abilities, right, it's fantastic. But if it takes like a minute and a half, 2 minutes to proc even once, I don't know if I like it. Especially when you take into consideration that you'd have to sacrifice Witch Doctor's Ancestry for it, which means you'd completely lose your CDR ability on Wolves when you spend Maelstrom, which is quite good right now. In AoE, when you're rotating through your Maelstrom quickly, you can get quite a lot of Wolves out. Sometimes even overlapping 2 or 3 Wolves if you're really lucky with procs and refunds and stuff like that. So I don't know if I'm going to like that or not. It's going to be something I'm going to have to try. Enough waffling over that one talent. Another new talent, Lightning Spark. Chain Lightning marks enemies with Lightning Spark and has a chance to make your next Flame Shock become Tremor Shock. Tremor Shock instantly shocks up to 6 Lightning Spark targets with concussive force, causing nature damage and applying Flame Shock. This is interesting. I'm not too sure if I like how that reads. It sounds like it's going to make the play a little bit more clunky. Right now, as you go in, right, you would, on pull, you would obviously Primordial Wave or Flame Shock as you go in, depending if you have Primordial Wave ready. So you would Flame Shock, you would Lava Lash, and if there's more than 5 targets, apply your additional Flame Shock to have it on 6 targets. This makes it like you would almost kind of want to go in with Chain Lightning to get the chance to proc it so that you could Tremor Shock and then put the 6 Flame Shocks out. But then if that didn't work, if that Chain Lightning didn't make your Flame Shock Tremor Shock, you kind of then have to go, didn't work, I have to Flame Shock Lava Lash to spread anyway. So not really sure how that would change the playstyle. I don't know if it would be worth just not opening up with like a Flame Shock if you had Maelstrom as you went into the pack, and instead sending that Maelstrom from the previous pack straight away into a Chain Lightning. Either way, it's a cool talent. Another thing I would like to point out, I'm not sure where these are slotting in. There's 3 new talents coming in, but I don't really know where they're being placed in the tree. So that's interesting. I guess we'll see. So our next new talent, Molten Thunder. The cooldown of Sundering is reduced by 10 seconds, but it can no longer incapacitate. Storm Surge has a small chance to also reset the cooldown of Sundering. Right now, I think Sundering cooldown is 45 seconds baseline, so this would put it as 35 seconds, which is quite a short cooldown for something like Sundering. It is a very large amount of AoE damage. Obviously, it won't be able to incapacitate anymore, which I kind of like, kind of don't like, because on one hand, it's really nice to have that as an additional stop, but on the other hand, you don't really want to be holding it to be using as a stop. I think there's certain situations where you don't really need additional CCs, especially with our toolkit right now and other classes we play with in keys. We don't really need any more CC. We have an absolute metric shit ton. And again, Storm Surge having a small chance to reset the cooldown is really nice. Like if you can get some good procs on there and reset your cooldown on Sundering a few times in a pack, you can do some really, really nice AoE damage by like sending 3 or 4 Sunderings in a big pool. I really like this actually. I think it's a really good talent addition. This one confuses me. Ice Strike has been redesigned. Whenever you spend Maelstrom Weapon, your Frost Shock has a chance to become Ice Strike. So I'm not sure if this is going to be like a replacement for the talent and it's just going to be a passive now, or we're still going to have to go into the Ice Strike talent instead of Fire Nova to be able to proc this chance. But basically, whenever you spend Maelstrom, it has the chance to become Ice Strike, so it replaces your Frost Shock. I don't know if I like this or not, because right now, obviously, you Ice Strike to buff your Frost Shock, and then you send your Frost Shock. I guess it doesn't really matter, because you would Ice Strike one global, and then you would Frost Shock, that's your second global. I'm not sure if it'd make too much of a difference to the playstyle right now. Interesting, but doesn't really make much of a difference if my understanding is correct. Doomwinds has been updated. Thank the flipping Lord. Unleash a devastating storm around yourself, dealing storm strike damage every 1 second to nearby enemies for 8 seconds. Increases your chance to activate Windfury Weapon by 200% and the damage of Windfury Weapon by 10%. Fundamentally, the only main change here really seems to be that when you activate Doomwinds now, it becomes an AoE effect around you. So it seems like just in general in AoE around yourself, you're now ticking for AoE damage for 8 seconds straight. And then obviously the same baseline buffs to Windfury Weapon and increased Windfury damage. I'm going to be honest, I haven't played into Doomwinds for a very long time. Like, this side of the tree in general, I'm just not a massive fan of it. Like, I played Doomwinds when it was a legendary back in Shadowlands, when they first kind of introduced the old idea of Doomwinds. Really liked it then, but as it's gone on and we've got things like Ashen Catalyst and Hot Hands and Lashing Flames especially, I just much prefer playing into the side of the tree. Like, the playstyle for me is personally just way more enjoyable. So I haven't really even played into this for God knows how long. I know there is currently a physical only build that is playing more into Doomwinds right now. I personally haven't tried it out, so I can't give much feedback on it. Although I do think that having Doomwinds just be a passive, like, pulsing damage for 8 seconds is probably a much nicer way of having it. It could work a lot nicer to play that side of the tree now if you do prefer into physical build. So yeah, not a bad change at all. I'm definitely for this compared to what it was before. Arc Discharge has been updated. Tempest makes your next Chain Lightning or Lightning Bolt instant cast and deal 40% increased damage and cast an additional time. And it does not consume Maelstrom weapon stacks. This is a very nice change. So for anyone that's not familiar with what Arc Discharge is, so prior to this, Tempest before, if it hit more than one target, it would make your next 2 Chain Lightnings be instant cast and do 40% increased damage. So same as what it currently is now. This adds Lightning Bolt to be the additional here. So either Chain Lightning or Lightning Bolt are instant. And this does not consume Maelstrom weapon stacks is really nice, because how it worked prior to this, if you got those 40% buffed 2 free Chain Lightnings from hitting more than one target with Tempest, and let's just say you had 3 or 4 Maelstrom, or you had 10 Maelstrom, and you wanted to send that Chain Lightning, but you didn't really want to consume your Maelstrom stacks because you wanted to use a Lightning Bolt instead, or you wanted to have that 10 Maelstrom after the free ones to instantly use again to get closer to another Tempest proc. What it would do before would be consume those 3 or 4 stacks, or consume the entire 10 stacks. And then what you'd do is you'd have 2 of those buffs, obviously you want to use, right? The 2 of the free Chain Lightnings. You'd send 1, that would consume your 10 stack. If you didn't get a buff from, I think it's Forum's Invocation, where it has like a chance to refund your Maelstrom. If you didn't get that, you'd just be sat on 0 Maelstrom and have 1 free Chain Lightning for 40% cost that you're just waiting to use. So either you would then have to gather more Maelstrom to get a 10 stack use again, or you would just send it with no Maelstrom compared to sending it before with a 10. It was very clunky to use. I'm really glad I'm not going forward with consuming the Maelstrom weapon stacks. It makes the playstyle much more fluid. It means that we can just send those free ones if we want to now, and then instantly keep our Maelstrom ready for something after that. So yeah, nice change. Forum's Invocation has been updated. Now causes deep root elements to last 2 seconds longer, or reduces the cooldown of Ascendance by 60 seconds, obviously depending on what talent you chose on that node, instead of increasing the damage of Chain Lightning and Lightning Bolt. Remaining effect is unchanged. Forum's Invocation before would buff our Lightning Bolt and Chain Lightning damage by 20%. So that has now been removed, which is a pretty significant nerf. So it does make Ascendance a 2-minute cooldown now, and it does also mean if you're in deeper elements instead of Ascendance, DRE now will last, is it currently 6 seconds, I believe? It would now last 8 seconds. So 8 seconds on DRE when you proc, and a 2-minute cooldown on Ascendance instead of 3 minutes on Ascendance. But you do lose the Chain Lightning and Lightning Bolt 20% buffs. The remaining effect that is unchanged is just when you Wind Strike, it spends the most recent spender that you'd used, it spends 5 Maelstrom to send that immediately automatically. I'm not sure if this is technically a nerf. 20% on Chain Lightning and Lightning Bolt is probably a lot more hefty than gaining a shorter CD on Ascendance or a longer buff on a deeply rooted element proc. If you are still playing Stormbringer, I think the Chain Lightning and Lightning Bolt nerfs are pretty big. Like, that is a pretty big change. But again, we'll see how it plays out, I guess. The second part of Enhancement Shaman Mastery that resets Stormstrike cooldown has been renamed from Stormbringer to Storm Surge. That was just a prior one we were talking about here. Where was it? So Molten Thunder, that's just saying Storm Surge has a small chance to reset the cooldown of Sundering. That's basically just the prop you get where it gives you a free Stormstrike from your mastery. That's basically that. The free Stormstrike prop is what is going to give you a cooldown on Sundering when you use it. Supercharges Lightning Bolt and Chain Lightning now have 35% chance to refund 2 Maelstrom weapon stacks, and it was 3 Maelstrom weapon stacks. Nothing too crazy there. I think most of the time it is overcapping anyway. Chain Lightning now reduces the cooldown of Crash Lightning by 0.5 seconds for each target hit, was 1 second. Again, very rarely are we Chain Lightning to get a Crash Lightning cooldown. It's normally off cooldown when you need to use it anyway, so nothing too crazy there. Crash Lightning's range changed to 8 yards, was 12 yards, and Molten Assault's range changed to 10 yards, was 12 yards. Very interesting. They just kind of nerfed our yard range there. A little bit weird. Unneeded change in my opinion, but it is what it is. Primal Maelstrom now causes Primordial Wave to generate 3. This is obviously the 1 or 2 point node. So 3 with 1 point in the node and 2 with 2 points in the node. Stacks of Maelstrom weapon was 5 or 10. So Primal Maelstrom is when you Primordial Wave, you get those instant Maelstroms on use. So now when you have 2 points in that, you'll get 5 Maelstrom stacks instead of getting an instant 10 Maelstrom stack. Kind of rough. You technically can't Primordial Wave, Crash Lightning, Lava Lash, and then instantly Lightning Bolt on those targets if you don't get the 10 Maelstrom through Lightning and Lava Lashing. I think for the most part, going in with Crash Lightning and Lava Lash on AoE, you'll probably get the 10 anyway. For single target, you'll probably need to generate an extra 5 stacks before you send, so you're on 10 stacks when you send that Lightning Bolt from Primordial Wave. I don't think it makes much of a difference for AoE. A little bit frustrating for single target generation on Maelstrom there, but it is what it is. A couple more globals before you send your Lightning Bolt. That's all it really is. Witch Doctor's Ancestry now reduces the cooldown of Feral Spirits by 1 second. Whenever a Maelstrom weapon is generated, was 2 seconds. So they've technically cut our CDR on our Wolves from generating Maelstrom in half. Flame Tongue weapon damage increased by 20%, not massive. I mean, Flame Tongue wasn't really a huge source of our damage. A nice buff. 20% is not a number to be snarled at by any means. I'll take a buff where I can take it, you know. Fire Nova is now unavailable when there are no Flame Shot targets within 40 yards. Quite a nice change there. It just means that you're not going to accidentally fat finger your Fire Nova when there's no Flame Shots out, which means it would obviously just do nothing. Mastery reset on Stormstrike no longer has a UI overlay and now displays in combat text. Overflowing Maelstrom now has a UI overlay when Maelstrom weapon stacks reach 10 stacks. Hot Hand no longer has a UI overlay display. Hot Hands now has a visual on the character when the effect is active. This could be pretty cool. I guess it's just going to look like our hands are on fire. Ashen Catalyst no longer highlights the Lava Lash when it reaches 8 stacks. That's just when it flashes up when it's on max stacks again. In AoE, it does that pretty much instantaneously, so I guess it's just nice to not have it constantly blaring in your face. Ashen Catalyst stacks are now displayed on the Lava Lash ability. Windfury weapon attacks now have an animation, sound, and an impact visual effect. I kind of hope it's just... Stormbringer only highlights Stormstrike and it displays the UI overlay for 1.25 seconds. Okay. Stormstrike, replacement, Windstrike animation, and visual effect have been updated. A lot of this is just UI stuff by the looks of it, just like visual changes. Now this one, snuck right in the bottom of the visual changes, is actually really nice. Elemental Weapons is now a 1-point talent. So this is the one that if you go in game, it buffs your elemental damage by 5%. Is it here? Yeah, so 1 point is 2.5 and 2 points in this node is 5% on all your elemental damage, basically. So that changing to 1 point instead of 2 points is really nice because what that does now is free us up an additional talent point to go into something else. So that going into 1 point is like really huge in general because we just generally get a free point to use. Okay, some Totemic tree changes. Reactivity has been redesigned. While Hot Hand is active, Lava Lash shatters the earth, causing a sundering at 30% effectiveness. Sunderings from this effect do not incapacitate. Now it's not going to shoot a volley out, it's going to do a sundering at 30% effectiveness. And going along with that, Reactivity's previous effect, searing volley to up to 5 nearby enemies, has been merged into lively totems. So now when you Lava Lash, it's going to be a searing volley as well as the one like firebolt that comes from it. So that's quite nice. That just means that all of that fire damage is basically working predominantly through our Lava Lash ability, which is quite nice. Whirling Elements has been redesigned. Your next Lava Lash or Fire Nova grants you Hot Hands for 8 seconds. This will add its time to an active Hot Hands if it's active. More times in Hot Hands is quite nice, especially if you're playing Totemic, because you're not playing like the Tempest build, obviously. You're not rotating through your Maelstrom like super fast. You're not spending on Lightning Bolt and Chain Lightning and blah, blah, blah. Hot Hands Lava Lash is just generally a lot more of a priority in that build. So being in Hot Hands for longer is going to make your Lava Lash damage a lot more stronger. Whirling Earth has been redesigned. Direct damage of your next Flame Shock is increased by 300% and it is applied to 5 nearby enemies. Very interesting because I think this before was Elemental Blast or a Sun Sundering would be buffed from the Whirling Earth. Interesting they've made Flame Shock the ability that is buffed by Whirling Earth, since Flame Shock is flame damage. Nevertheless, quite nice. That is quite a lot of damage. Whirling Air has been redesigned. Your next Lightning Bolt, Chain Lightning, and Elemental Blast unleashes 3 Surging Bolts at your totem. So Surging Bolts are the talent on the Totemic side of the tree that basically buff your Surging Totem's damage by 10% per stack. So that's just going to give you 30% instantly to your Surging Totem damage whenever you Lightning Bolt, Chain Lightning, or Elemental Blast. So that's quite nice. Imbuement Mastery has been updated. Increases the chance for Wind Fury weapon to trigger by 10% and increases its damage by 15%. That was already what it did. This is literally the same as what it already did. What is actually changing here is additionally adding this here. So when Flame Tongue weapon triggers from Wind Fury weapon attacks, it has a chance to gather a whirl of flame around a target, dealing its damage to all nearby enemies 3 additional times. So it's basically just including Flame Tongue weapon into this ability rather than just purely work off Wind Fury weapon. It only procs when the Flame Tongue is procced from your Wind Fury weapon attack. Totemic Rebound triggering spell was updated from Storm Strike to Lightning Bolt, Chain Lightning, and Elemental Blast. Totemic Rebound before was purely from Storm Strike only, and I think it just bounced off and done some damage. I think that's all it really did. By the way it reads, Storm Strike will no longer proc it, and it will be from your spenders that it procs. And I believe that is all of our changes. So again, quite a hefty amount of changes have come in there, as you can see. Quite a lot of different things that we're going to have to wait until they come into play to be able to see what they're like. I think this stuff is going on to test nets now, so you can actually go and try it out on betas and that if you really want to see what it's like. Personally, I'll probably be waiting for it to release on actual like release day to see what it's like, try it out on keys and stuff like that. There is some nice changes there for sure. Nothing that really concerns me too much, honestly. Anyway, I've already talked for way too long, so we'll leave it there. Thanks very much for watching. If you have any questions about any of that, if you have any additional comments that I've missed, anything that I've just brushed over that is obvious that I've not understood properly, please leave a comment down below. My little ping link will be up here, so you can watch my stream if you'd like. I can go over all of this stuff, talk about any of the Shaman changes, and I'm just normally playing keys pretty much 24/7 when they release, if you want to come and watch me play some keys during the season as well. But yes, thank you very much for watching. I appreciate it very much, and I will see everybody in the next video or in stream. See you later.